Hi there, Gemini, and welcome to your October forecast. A quick reminder that you can always use this for your sun sign, your rising, and also for your moon. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to say a thank you to everyone. I'm getting really close to a milestone here on YouTube, nearly at 100,000 subscribers, and that's 100% thank you to all of you. So please keep up the likes, the shares, and subscribes. It really is making a difference here. And of course, if you'd like to also give back and donate $1, I'll put some information at the bottom of the video. This is completely optional, but it does help go towards getting supplies and also just allow me to put time on my calendar to do all these videos. So thank you to everyone that does any sort of support from, again, liking, sharing, subscribing, or even donating. It makes a difference and it means a lot to me. So let's now get into the forecast. As you know, every month I like to approach this in 3 different parts. I start off at the beginning with looking at channeled information, and I arrive at that by selecting a deck of cards, meditating, and then I receive a message for your sign. After that, we'll take a look at an overarching forecast using a Celtic cross, and then I expand it to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Your channeled information this month was really to pay attention to using your voice. As I was meditating, I heard a crowd of people, and the message I was getting was to make sure that you're being heard, that your voice is rising above that crowd. Don't be afraid to speak up, and know that what you say makes a difference, and that your voice has power, has a purpose, has a place at the table. Let's go ahead now and look at the cards and see what additional insights they have to yield for the month ahead. At this point, I normally like to remain quiet, so I'm just going to give this a shuffle and observe the cards, their placements, and the meanings just like you. I'll join you right after that. In addition to the Celtic cross, I like to pull an additional card. I refer to this as a catalyst, and the catalyst for me, it helps show a connection between what's here. It also shows a way to either really grasp onto the higher energy of the month and hopefully avoid any pitfalls. So your catalyst this month is the bear. And I think this really speaks to what I was talking about earlier, which was to make sure that you are heard and also not bullied or pushed into sort of quiet or submission. Now, you don't have to be as angry as this bear, and you don't need to. And in fact, I think it's important not to come off as aggressive. But in the same manner of speaking, you do want to stand up for what is important for you this month. And the interesting thing with a bear is sometimes its power exists not in its roar, but just in the way it holds itself. If you ever kind of look at a bear and how it's approaching someone when it feels threatened, or if it's trying to protect territory, it has a way of holding itself, standing up and saying, I am a presence to be reckoned with. You need to respect me. So I think what you want to pay attention this month is you don't necessarily want to go into attack mode. What you really want to focus on is showing people that you respect them and you respect yourself, and that there is a power beneath sometimes the quiet or the polite side of yourself. So this will allow people to not run all over you or walk all over you or drown you out. And that's really kind of what it seemed like in my meditation, was that you can have a voice, you don't have to yell, you don't have to be pushy. Sometimes it's just about holding yourself in a certain way, and through nonverbal communication, good eye contact, a firm voice, not yelling again, you can show that you're kind of holding court. And I think that that's going to be very important as you go through the month. Let's look at each card one by one, and we'll get some additional information on what October holds for you. Your central card here is the Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles is always an interesting card. It can show, first of all, issues with money. As I'm looking at everything else this month, I'm not seeing a lot of other resource cards. So the first thing that I see is a need to get an understanding of where you stand financially this month. Look at all of your bookkeeping, look at your records, and make sure that you know exactly what's coming in and what needs to go out. That's going to help remove any sort of elements of fear that might be associated when we see this card. The other thing is a self-confidence. There's a little bit of pulling back that you see with this card. Someone who is protecting themselves, protecting their heart, protecting their money and their resources. So this is a good instinct in general. We want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in a harmful position or situation. But if you hold back too much, then people may see you as someone who is uncertain or is a bet that they can't sort of depend on. And so they see you as sort of risky then. So I want you to be able to be confident. And part of that confidence comes from understanding, educating yourself, knowing where you stand with money, and then opening your heart to new opportunities. But of course, on the surface here, I would say this month, you want to be cautious with finances. No large purchases, save more than you spend. And it's okay to be cautious about moving forward in a situation. Just don't let that caution hold you back from possibly engaging in something that could be a good growth opportunity, etc. There's always risk when you try something new. There's a lot of work, a lot of busyness around the beginning of the month. And for some of you, there's a note here to not lose yourself in the work or not hide behind the work. Because when we kind of combine the channeled information, the catalyst, and even that first card, there's a sense of getting lost, and you might be sort of either so busy that you miss what's going on around you, or you may be purposely sort of burying yourself in responsibilities or work or other things. Come up for air, enjoy things a little bit, and observe the surroundings. You might pick up on a cue that is going to help you further on in the month. As I look at what could be challenging you as you come into this month, we have the Chariot card. It is reversed, and that shows that there are some struggles with either you trying to gain authority or getting control of things or manage everything. So this is why I think it is important to come up for air, to look around, to ground yourself in purpose this month, just making sure that sometimes when you get on a track, it's kind of like if you're driving. If you're not paying attention and you kind of zone out a little bit, you can miss a turn, or you can question, how did I get where I'm going? So I want you to kind of stay focused and present in the moment so none of this happens to you. You want to always be aware. Communication, something I hit on a few times earlier. You want to be direct this month, but not to the point that it's off-putting, because these two cards are really the same thing. The King of Swords is the ultimate card that you would see when you're coming on too strong. And that's something that I saw a danger of when we looked at your catalyst this month. So I want you to be strong, but not overbearing. and a way to do that is to make sure that you pause before speaking. You check with other people to see if your approach is going to be well received, or better yet, you just take your time and say, let me think, let's come back tomorrow. And that gives you time to really digest things. And most people are okay with that. And that's what the crowning card is showing. Don't be afraid to take time away, to really, for important conversations, make sure that you clear your mind first. Go out for a walk. We can't always sit down, meditate, hold a crystal at work. Sometimes we have to just take a deep breath, walk around the office, come back, and then deal with something challenging. But make sure you're doing something to sort of clear the energy in your space and in your mind. That's going to help quite a bit. Exercise is key this month. Walking is magical for you. So I want you to get out and change the environment. That's why it's going to work. That's the magic in this. Again, trying to, if there's a tape or a recording going on in your head and it's of a negative nature, critical nature, or self-defeating nature, you want to be careful. I'm looking at this as something that could hold you back from getting started. I see an Ace of Swords as an execution, a beginning, basically sort of like that initial shotgun when you're ready to start a race. But when you're at a point of doubting yourself and there's a dialogue going on internally, it can be hard to get that sort of beginning notification that yes, you're going to go forward. And so this month, I want you to take initiative when it comes to being proactive and doing things in your life, and don't get stuck in the fear space. And that's really another element of Four of Pentacles. There's a survival mode, which is important, but there's also a fear which can hold you back. So try to find a happy medium between being cautious and prudent, and then also being afraid and sort of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Almost frozen because of that. Vitality this month and ability to sort of get out of your head is something that I want you to focus on. That's why I think physical activity is going to help. It's going to really make your body move, your energy shift. And then, the Knight of Wands is actually a good card. This shows the beginning of new thought processes, new projects, new opportunities on the horizon. The reversal, however, shows that sometimes you could be shut down mentally. thinking, I can't do it. And that's actually what's attached to this in the environment. So Nine of Swords is not a card where you're sometimes seeing tangible things. It's a card where you even notice this, the character in here is holding their head, because a lot of it is, it's internal. So I want you to pay attention to why some of the emotions are coming through this month. Is it because of a past experience? Sometimes it's a fear of success. We get used to sort of just blending in and not having things happen. I want you to embrace and think, embrace the possibility that you can get what you want, and then just go for it. Sometimes you feel like you're in over your head, but that's also an exciting thing. So try to just go with the momentum if you can. And when we're looking at opportunities this month, I'd like to encourage you to try not to let your emotions get you carried away in a negative way, knowing that how you feel is a direct sort of projection to other people of how they should feel as well. So if you can move yourself internally to start to see the opportunities around you. The Nine of Cups is one of extremes, extreme highs and extreme lows. It looks like at the beginning of the month or even in the middle of the month, you might be dealing with something that's bringing you to a low. So it's going to be really important before you get too either wrapped up in a project or a communication or even just events in your life that you take time to equalize and neutralize your emotions. So for some of you, that might mean that you just need to process them. Crying, laughing, screaming, whatever is necessary to sort of like get them out and acknowledge them, be in the moment. Because sometimes when we just push them under the surface, that's what's causing the Nine of Swords that I saw in the environment. You need to somehow allow the emotions to come up, to kind of process and get out, and then you can get back to a space that's normal. So art is a great way to do that. So, like writing, painting, dancing, exercise as well, talking to a therapist or to a best friend. This somehow needs to come out. And in doing so, it's going to free you of the process of feeling sort of pent up energy. Now, the outcome card is interesting. We have the Hanged Man. And what I'm seeing with this is a necessary pause coming at the end of the month. It doesn't have to be seen as a roadblock because your crowning card is one that shows cycles of coming and going or ending and beginning. So what you're going to be doing, looks like at the end of the month, is sort of hitting a cycle where you're going to wait and see and decide, maybe I'll come back to this later, or maybe I want to go back to something that I didn't finish before and allow that to happen. And that's why in the near future we have this reversal card here of the Ace of Swords. You're going to want to kind of turn around anything that's been losing traction in your life. So another way to frame up October for your sign is second chances. A second chance to go back and fix something, a chance to go and look at something with a fresh set of eyes. And yes, there's a pause that's happening, but it's one that's meaningful and that will ultimately allow you to hopefully turn this card upside down and improve upon an existing idea or project or relationship in your life. You want to remain as open-minded as possible this month so that you can find new insights. And that's really what I think the sort of latent opportunity is for your sign this month, is a new way of looking at something that could change the entire trajectory of the rest of the year and your perspective on your life in general. But it's important for you to pause, open your mind, and then also to allow any emotions to come through, to validate them, to express them, and then to release them. Once you do that, the cool thing with this card is I actually feel like you're going to regain your power. And the illustration makes me laugh sometimes, but there is a lot of power that is, I feel like, kind of ready to come through. So if you channel this appropriately, you're going to have a really exciting end of this year. And I would say this is really pulling us into 2019. We're close now. We just have a couple months left in this year. So looking back at this card, what I'm really seeing here is an awakening. Because this could have been one of two states for the bear. It could have been hibernating, or it could be awake, alive, and ready to approach the year ahead. And that's where I think you are. You're in this awakening phase. So try to pace yourself. Try not to come off too strong. And really what this is about is open-mindedness, discovery, a pause, and a chance to go back at and look at something and give it new life, new insight, And this could change everything for you, because any place that you felt stuck before, I feel like you might be able to push through and really establish something exciting as we're building up to and hopefully pushing through 2019. Let's expand your forecast, get some additional insight in this, and we'll start off with your health card. Health always includes mind, body, and spirit. Let's see what the cards have to say in that area. Well, we actually had a volunteer here. I'm going to do 2 cards though, because that card flew out and I want to make sure that I'm also randomly pulling a card. So your sign will get 2 cards. And the first card that volunteered was forgiveness, and the second one was self-worth. So let's talk about these 2. I always pay attention, special attention, I would say, to cards that fly out. The card that came out on its own was this forgiveness card. Let's turn it upright so you can see the illustration. This really is hearkening back to a moment where you either felt vulnerable or that you put yourself completely in someone else's trust and presence, and it may not have panned out the way that you wanted. And as I look at this, it could be a symbolic sort of nod to your inner child, but it could also literally be from youth, where there was a moment where someone underestimated your emotional maturity or took for granted your emotions and how delicate they might have been as a child, and somehow you might feel this lingering sort of scar of being not appreciated, not loved, or not respected. This is your time to forgive yourself. That's where it starts, because the one thing that I see for many of you is it's not your fault. Whatever it was in the past, someone else should have been the bigger person, should have been the one that came through, should have been protecting you. And so it's never your fault when you're a victim like that, especially if there's an innocence or a youth sort of associated with it. So forgive yourself. The larger forgiveness of someone else, that's completely up to you, and the timing has to be right. But know that forgiveness heals all. So start that path and begin with yourself this month. And this is a direct correlation to that card, this self-worth card. And this is what the 4 of Pentacles at the center was really speaking to, is when you kind of open up whatever this past experience was and realize, this isn't my fault. I am actually a strong person. There was an incident in the past where maybe I wasn't as strong as I could have been, but that's because I was young and someone else should have protected me. This opens you up and you realize that you're worth much more than that one incident in your past, and that you open yourself up for new things, new and better experiences. And for those of you that aren't dealing with something from the past, this could also just be forgiving yourself for maybe not being where you want to be right now. Because I'm looking at this and I see something big around you where you feel like maybe it was a goal, a dream, an aspiration, it was out of reach, or you feel like you've let yourself down or others down. Just acknowledge that we all have expectations. Sometimes they're unrealistic, or sometimes we just drop the ball. What's important now is not beating yourself up over a past situation. It's what you do with the time that's left and with the time that's in front of you. And then starting to feel like, I am now ready for something better than what happened before. So if we take out the sort of position of whether it was your fault or whether it was someone else's fault, it's almost inconsequential or not important to what the overall arching message is here, which is that you deserve better than whatever you're feeling or have felt in the past, and you can do better than that. So don't worry about whose fault or what's going on. Just feel now that you are a worthy person. Other people would be lucky to be in your presence, and you can bring great value to any situation. That self-worth is going to help with that vocalization that I got in the channeled information, which was your voice matters. And then you won't have this feeling of having to fight, because you understand that you have worth and that people are either going to listen or not listen. Let's take a look now. That was a lot to unpack, but let's take a look now at your wealth card. I'm very curious because, all of this, it actually came down to the heart. I should talk about that 1 second before we go to wealth. Your health situation is really talking about heart space, and I would also say 3rd chakra. So your 3rd and 4th chakra, or your solar plexus right around the belly button, and the heart. So your stress, if you can kind of deal with it, is going to release in those areas. This will help with tightening of the chest. This can also help with indigestion. So it's interesting when we look at emotional locks that can sometimes work their way into our physical health. So if you've been feeling areas of discomfort in those portions, of course you want to take care of yourself physically, but also make sure that you're paying attention to the emotional component, because I do feel like there is a heaviness of emotion for some of you this month, and going to the root of the matter will help with whatever physical ailments that you might be experiencing. And again, those are the two areas of sensitivity: heart and lungs, and stomach and digestion. All right, now let's get on to wealth, which has, again, a lot to do with self-worth. It's not just money, but it's also how you approach yourself, how you approach opportunities in your life, etc. So for you, we have hostilities. And so what you want to avoid this month is unnecessary conflict. Now, with this in mind, that isn't to say that you shouldn't pick and choose battles that make sense. So if somebody comes towards you and makes a false claim, or puts you on a place where you need to be defensive, this is saying, try not to meet hostility with hostility. Find a way where you can go back to a neutral place, or pick up facts that can somehow neutralize and de-emphasize the sort of irrational emotions that might be coming through in a certain situation. All of that being said, there are moments where it's important to show that passion. It's important to show your ability to be strong. So there's going to be a little bit of a dance that's going on, and it's interesting that it's kind of what we see with this bear here. Moments of strength countered by moments of pulling back a little bit and defending yourself. And so find that happy medium this month. And when it comes to looking at money, looking at business, looking at opportunities related to the two of these, it looks like there's competition, and that's what I see with this. So if there's something that you really want in your life, you may have to fight for it. And so if there's a position that really matters for you, or something that you're trying to achieve, this month you're going to have to basically show your all, really convince people in like why they should be paying more attention to you than other people. So this can actually be a motivational element, just knowing that this is the time to shine. And so some of these distractions that we saw, being afraid of what could happen, being too closed off and getting too sort of stuck in your head, or allowing your emotions to pull you in a place where you're afraid or sad over maybe not being able to do it. You need to sort of psych yourself into the positive, what an athlete would do if she or he were going to run a race. Think to yourself, I've done the work, I'm ready for this, and I am going to make this happen. And then you just sort of let things fall, let the chips fall as they may in your life, and everything else is kind of out of your hands. But you have to sort of internally set the dial in a different direction and think, I can do this, I will do this. And it's more of a stance of, I'm ready to defend myself or to articulate what's important if needed, but I don't have to come off as sort of like fighting initially. It's just that internal strength. So sometimes strength is better when people don't see it initially, but they feel it. And that's what you really have to strike this month, is an internal sense of, I can do this, I am ready, and I am worth this. And that self-worth that we talked about when we were looking at health, it was really a message from probably pain from the past or an issue from the past. This is feeding directly into your money situation as well. So when you get to the root of it, it's going to help all sectors of your life. Let's go ahead now and take a look at love and see what's happening with relationships this month. A reminder that love isn't just romantic relationships. This can be business alliances, friendships, and family connections. Just want to see what the focus is when it comes to love. All right, so we have Voyage of the Heart. Love flows through you and to you. And this card is reversed, but I'm going to hold it upright so you can read the message and look at the image here. And what you want to allow this month, this is why I think it's important to deal with any closures within your energetic system. And again, if we take a look at this, Four of Pentacles, the cool thing with this is it actually ties up to the fourth chakra, and it shows the blockage right in front of the fourth chakra, which is the heart. That's where I think you want to work on allowing the flow of energy to come in this month. We're going to see a lot of crossover on all of these expanded forecast things. In order to open up the heart chakra, I'm actually going to pull something that would normally be in the in the health section, and that is to do exercises, either yoga or at the gym, where you're opening up the chest cavity. And also when you're holding your posture, I want you to try to open up this space. And in doing so, any sort of pent-up energy is going to expand and come out of this. You also want to practice really deep breathing this month. You could do 3 to 5 or even up to 10 or 11 inhales and exhales using something called the breath of fire if you would like, to really open up this cavity and really push out any of that energy that's been pent up, and that's going to help you as well. And that's also going to pull the energy from the 3rd chakra all the way through, and that's going to naturally also go through the 4th chakra. All right, the other piece of this that I'm looking at is voyage. So for many of you know that love doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey that we're taking to understand ourselves, and a lot of times, I would actually say most of the time, the people that are around us are reflections of our internal voyage of love. How do we feel about ourselves? Do we need to learn lessons from people around us? When we sort of get to know ourselves and no longer are looking for validation or love through others, like when we have that self-love internally, then we call in partners that are champions and just sort of there to help us with other things or just to reflect positivity. So the quicker you can heal and help yourself, the sooner you can have that partnership rather than a teacher. And that's kind of what happens in a lot of karmic relationships. Let's look now at your outcome, your destiny card. For me, destiny is cool because it is a trajectory, a GPS. It's something that you can affect. I'm just looking at your current path, but if you like it, you can stick with it. If you don't, you can always decide to make some choices. So this card allows you to really engage with free will, which is a great thing. Okay, so we have Sacred Self, and it says, unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life. So this one is getting back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier, which was to find a way to let go of emotions that were pent up, I should say. And this card was reversed, like many of them have been today, and that's just showing an opportunity to break through, that's it. But looking at it in the upright position here, what you really want to do here, notice that dove and the Merkaba is right above or right in front of the throat chakra. I think for some of you, if you've had trouble sort of getting things out, singing, public speaking, or doing anything that sort of exercises this throat chakra could be really beneficial. In yoga, there's chanting as well. So if you're not comfortable kind of being in crowds and doing all of this, just talking in the shower, or singing in the shower, or singing along to kirtan or positive music or something, I want you to get the vibration of truth, of love, of light in the throat chakra. Start using thoughts and words here like I am capable, I am ready, I am open, to love, to light, to opportunities. Like get this vibration in this area, and that's what's going to open things up. But again, dancing, singing, art, great way to open yourself to positive and higher frequencies. Even if you have to channel out some of the shadow energy first, you're going to make that into something beautiful or tangible and get it out of your body, which is important. Let's go ahead now and recap everything that we talked about because there was a lot to process. As I go back to your channeled information, again, I mentally sort of heard a murmur or a loud sort of group of voices, and initially what I was inferring from that was that you needed to either tune them out or find a way to rise above them. So your voice is important, and we were just talking about that. So I think that if you can open up and heal this chakra, that's also going to help. There's a blockage in 3, 4, and for some of you also 5. So this month it's about healing those central chakras to really allow for the top and bottommost chakras to be healthy and happy. We looked at your catalyst this month, and it was the bear, which is reminding you of your internal strength, but also a cautionary note to not come on too strong. So as we looked at the cards today, I think we got at how to strike that happy medium, but let's go ahead and review everything that we talked about. In the center, we have the 4 of Pentacles. I talked about, again, just basically paying attention to finances this month. You don't want to overextend, but you also don't want to exist in a place of fear. The way to get rid of fear is to educate yourself. Once you know what you have and what you need, you'll be able to proceed accordingly. Try not to hide behind work this month. Issues of control may come up again this month. This is a pattern from the past. Just make sure that you take on exactly what you can handle. Don't get distracted. Don't doubt yourself. Just feel now that you're ready to embrace whatever it is that's on your table or on in front of you. When I look at communication, the ability to sort of take action and also your thought, we need to bring this to a space of neutrality. Communication, it's okay to be direct. Don't be so direct that it is off-putting. For taking action, this is a chance to go back and finish something this month that you haven't maybe in the past brought to completion. Stay open-minded this month. Try not to give in to fear. It's okay to feel emotions that are scary or uncertain. Just find a way to express them. Again, going to that final card, once you express them, you release them or you exorcise them, and that gives you a chance to get out of this feeling of being stuck. Again, that pause that we're seeing at the end of this month really is a chance for you to go back and take something and bring it to completion. So don't be afraid of the pause. It doesn't mean that you're not making progress. It means that there's something that needs your attention. Reviewing again the expanded forecast, we had 2 cards that came out. The first volunteered itself, and it was to basically allow yourself to find forgiveness for something that you experienced in the past, or maybe for something that you haven't had a chance to complete. This is going to directly associate itself with your self-worth and to that 4 of Pentacles that we saw at the center. When we look at wealth, there's going to be opportunities for you to kind of defend yourself this month. You want to pick and choose those battles accordingly, and also remember that sometimes strength is not what you say, but it's how you hold yourself and how you set an example for others. So just be ready, but you don't always have to engage in a fight or an argument. Competition is going to be another component of this. So if you are going for some sort of a big opportunity, be ready. There are other people that are vying for that, which may make the odds sort of stacked against you. But I always believe that it's important to hold on to that thought that you can do it. Because if you have that doubt, it's hard for others to trust you. But if you feel confident and you put your best foot forward, then you've done everything that you can. And that's the best that you can do really now and always. When we're looking at, we looked at health, wealth, and we're looking at love, a reminder that things don't happen overnight, and that to open things up in your life, it's really important to, in thoughts, also in actions, I was talking about exercise, to open up this heart chakra, and that's going to help you with money in the long run as well, not just love. And then the overall message this month was to find a way to open up your throat chakra through singing, through talking, through maybe for some of you through writing, and then even just reading that aloud. Because for me, when you take the thoughts, that's one component of power. When you put them into words, that's deepening your connection to something. And then when you speak them, you're actually infusing power into them. So it's a 3-part process. And if you try to do something positive with this, it's almost like it's magic, basically. So I want you to combine all 3 elements, and this could create something new in your life, a new shift in a positive direction. It's a great way to wrap up this forecast. I want to remind you, though, if you ever have something that you want to talk about that I couldn't cover in a general, because it's really going to be focusing on everybody at once, and I can't always get into the specifics, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available for one-on-one appointments, and you can look at my rates and availability by clicking on that first link below the video, right above the comments section. If you would like to give back to this channel, whatever you can do, it really helps me on a heart level and also just on a sort of practical level. Finally, if you just want to join the network and see what's going on with me from month to month, feel free to do that. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I would love to have you join me on those social media platforms as well as my newsletter. So the third link is a great way to connect up to all of those, and I can't wait to see you join if you'd like to. Finally, and most importantly, I like to end every video with some specific information for you, and also like a larger picture for why we're here. So part of the larger picture is just gratitude and saying thank you for showing up. Every month, hopefully it's kind of like a crystal. I show a different facet of your personality and or your opportunities for the month. And so hopefully you're learning all the sides of yourself. And just like this crystal, I want you to be able to shine and inspire other people in your life. So keep polishing, keep finding that perfect piece of who you are. And hopefully one day we're all going to be as clear and as radiant as these crystals. I think we already have that capacity within. So I want you to keep working on yourself so you can have that clarity. That's really why we're here each month. This month, what's really important is I keep looking at that card that was showing something from the past. We have options every month where we can decide, every day really, where we can decide to hold on to something that was or could have been, or we can decide to embrace what could be. I want you to focus on what could be, and I think that's going to be what allows you to have a breakthrough in all three of those chakras that I was showing some blockages. You don't have to do anything magical to open those. You can just release the energy and the thoughts that were in those areas. The exercises I mentioned can help, but it comes in an internal sort of thought process that you just finally think to yourself, okay, I'm free, I'm ready to move on. So I hope that you can find that freedom this month, and I hope that I gave you what you need to kind of travel through the month. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I wish you much love and light now and always. I'll see you again next month. Bye-bye.